So I'm starting recording now. We had originally said that our test was going to be next Wednesday, but I'm moving it up to Monday. So because of our presentations, it'll probably take our whole class time on Monday to do the presentations. And so I want to finish all the chapter 7 stuff on Wednesday. Also, my reading class, those of you who are in the reading class that just ended, I think there's 5 of you in here. We have our reading test on Wednesday in a week, the 22nd. So we're going to do the listening class, the test on the 27th. So that's the next Monday. And that'll give you a little bit more time. That's going to cover chapter 5 and 7. So it'll be all the vocabulary from 5 and 7 and all the skills from 5 and 7. And I'll put all that information up on D2L this weekend so you can start practicing next week.
Monday?
No, it'll be Monday the 27th.
Okay.
So this coming Monday on the 20th, we're going to be doing the rest of the presentations. And then the 27th will be the chapter test that'll cover chapters 5 and 7. Which we've been working on. And I also had you put in your chapter 5 vocabulary practice. We'll have a new one this weekend for chapter 7. That's the same thing. It'll be a worksheet that you can type in the boxes. Then we'll do the presentations Monday, and we'll, actually we could probably do the chapter 7 vocabulary next week and look at it on Wednesday, because if we're doing presentations Monday, I want you to focus on that this weekend. I'm not sure about the food topics. I haven't looked recently. I got a few more planning sheets that I looked at last night. And I think I have feedback published for everybody. Yep. So everybody that gave me a sheet so far has feedback. Not everybody did it, but you know, if you did not give me your feedback already, I mean, if you did not give me your worksheet already, you're going to need to still submit it, because that planning worksheet is part of your presentation grade. So if you remember, from the first presentation, I collected those planning sheets, and I don't have everybody, so you won't get points for that if you don't put it in there, and I don't have any other way to collect it. So even if you put it in there after you present, it would be a good idea to make sure you put that in there. The discussion page, which is where you're putting in your food topics. So I had asked you to post it on discussion, what food you're choosing. I only have 10 people in here, which is only half the class. There's 19 in this class. A couple people haven't been coming, so maybe we'll just be fewer than 19 right now, but I only have 10 topics in here. So if you haven't even started on your stuff yet, you need to look through these, make sure you're not choosing a food that someone else, uh-oh, here's 2 that say chow mein. Oh, those are both Nero, you did yours twice. So that doesn't matter. So then that means I only have 9 people in here. And So Ray, yours is, did you change yours, So Ray?
Oh, I have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yours is in twice.
I think I put a picture too. So with the
Okay.
picture is.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So Ray, which one are you doing for sure then? The pad thai or the pho?
Pad Thai.
Okay, so this one I'm going to delete.
Okay.
Can you delete mine too? I don't have a delete button.
Okay, so now if you can see this, So Ray, yours still says pad thai. I was looking to see if anybody else had pad thai. I don't. Someone else has pad thai, but it must be in my other class because I don't see it on here. Because I have, if you remember, I have 2 sections. So Nero,
Yeah.
one of these you put up and
Yeah,
then,
that one. That one is you can delete this one, food presentation.
can I look at it first before I delete it?
Yeah. Go
You
ahead.
think you put in oh,
Yeah,
that's
this is the
fine.
good one.
Yeah, with the picture, that's fine. Then I should
Yeah.
delete the other one that doesn't have the picture, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so then that means I don't even have 10 responses because So Ray was in there 2 times and Nero was in there 2 times. So now when I go back to my discussion page, it shows that we only have 8 people, which is now we're down to less than half. And I don't know if people just chose their food and are working on it without putting the food in here, or if this means that some of you haven't even started doing anything, which would be kind of scary if that's the case, that you haven't even started, because it was supposed to be today. I'm giving everybody till Monday if they wanted. Some of you might still go today if you want, but you were supposed to have everything done by today, including your PowerPoint. And if you haven't even chosen a food topic yet, yikes. You've got a lot to do this weekend. You'll have to have everything ready by Monday. So I'll keep watching the discussion page for people to put in their topic. You need to put your topic in there, even if you haven't done anything on your planning yet, because you don't want someone else to choose the same food that you did. And then all of a sudden you'll have to redo the whole thing with a different food. So please make sure you choose your topic and put it in D2L. Make sure you finish your planning sheet as soon as possible. And I've been giving feedback on those. Most of the feedback is just telling you if there's places where you don't have enough information. And then I just tell you examples or ideas or suggestions of stuff you can add to make sure you have enough information. One of the main things I've been making comments on for the planning is under the part where you answer the question if the food is healthy or not. Because there's a few more, we say the word considerations, meaning there's a few more characteristics or features to consider when you're talking about healthy, not just it has vitamins, okay? So most of you, the comments I've been putting in, anybody who hasn't done theirs yet, I can kind of help you in advance and give you the same comment in advance. I'm waiting for the planning sheet to open up so I can tell you. And
I have a question.
okay.
I already got your feedback and you comment a couple of things what I should add. So should I send you again corrected sheet, or just continue and make PowerPoint, build PowerPoint and send PowerPoint?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nino. You do not need to submit it again.
Okay.
So the suggestions are just for you to know what things that between now and doing the presentation I want you to add in, but you don't have to send it back to me. I'm just assuming that you're going to take my suggestions. So, you know, if you have a friend or somebody who makes a suggestion for you, you might do it or you might not do it. But when your teacher makes a suggestion for you, it means you should probably do it, right?
Yeah, so probably 100%, not probably, actually 100% sure that I'll take your suggestion and I'll do all of your comments. I'll try at least.
Yeah, that's great. So when you, this is not opening and I don't know why. When you make the changes, I just want you to have the information in your presentation. So then when I grade your presentation, I'll know if you know, put in enough information. I don't need to see the worksheet again because I'll still have
and one question.
Class is in the same position. Only about half the people have turned in anything. So I still have a lot of worksheets to read for the first time. So I don't need to read them for the second time.
Okay, and this PowerPoint, when is like deadline to send PowerPoint I think I decide to make record and send you. I don't want to like live or I don't know.
Yeah,
So
you
what
don't
is
want
it?
to, we say
Yeah,
do it live. You don't want to do it live, yeah.
yeah, and I'm asking you when is the deadline to send both the PowerPoint and my record video for this presentation?
So the PowerPoint, right now, I'm just planning to see it at the presentation. If you want feedback from me on your PowerPoint, then you should put it in the folder with your planning worksheet. So those would go in the same place. There's
Okay.
there's a folder on D2L that says food presentation planning worksheet. You can put your PowerPoint in there. And whenever I get, Abdi, I see your hand. I'll be with you in 1 second. Whenever I get a new submission in one of the folders, it gives me a alert. So when I log into D2L, it says there's a new submission. So then I'll go find it. And then the recordings, there's a separate folder that's called videos, and I put videos in capital letters so you know. So when you make your recording, you want to upload it into the video folder, and you need to do it before class Monday, because my goal is to watch them on Monday. So we'll still see everybody's presentation, even if you're not doing it live. We'll watch the video ones together.
Okay.
So
So,
by Monday at 10:30, basically.
okay, so I need to send you like before Monday the videos and PowerPoint, both of.
Yeah, the PowerPoint is optional if you want my feedback. If you want to just, you know, if you feel confident about your PowerPoint, you can just do it in the presentation. I'll see it.
So it's not necessary, like it's not obligated to do PowerPoint.
You're required to have one for the presentation, but you're not required for me to look at it first.
Okay.
So in my other class, a few of our students, so almost all of you were in my 33 class in the fall. And my other section is the same way, because in the fall I had both 33 sections. Now I have both 43 sections. So there's a lot of overlap. And several students asked me yesterday, if I want your opinion or your feedback, can I send your PowerPoint? So I will do that if you want to, but it's not required. Otherwise, I'll just grade your PowerPoint in the presentation. Abdi, what's your question?
Yeah, my question is, I tried to make, to submit my food worksheet, and it's in Word, so can you put in PDF? That will be easy for me. But Peter even told me to do that. It's in PDF.
If I put it in PDF, I don't know if you can type in it. Do you mean to make it so you can type in it?
Yes.
Yes, I can do that.
Sure. So the way it's now, I can, you can read it if I send it to you.
Right, because it's the Pages document.
Yep. So if you make in PDF, it will be easy. You can open it and I can write and type it.
Okay. Yeah, before I left school. So if you guys remember, there were 2 weeks of school where the teachers were working, but the students weren't there. And that was all the stuff we were working on.
Yeah.
And I learned how to create the PDFs and also put the blanks in the boxes to type.
Yeah.
And I had to upload that on my home computer, so I can do it from home now.
Sure.
Because at school I did like all our vocabulary sheets and all the things that I knew I would be using for sure, but something like this I can make it. And I'll put it on today's announcement, Abdi, for D2L.
Sure. And
It'll be a new form.
Yep, you will
Is
get it.
anyone else having trouble with the planning sheet? Okay, so for the feedback, what I wanted to say about the worksheet, the people that haven't done it yet, the main thing that I'm seeing with the worksheet is that you're not doing all the description correctly. So some of you are listing the ingredients there, which I want the ingredients, but I also want you to describe what the food is. So you're describing it, and I want you to include the ingredients in your description, but you know, is it a hot food? Is it a cold food? Is it one dish? If you remember the girl that talked about goulash, it's one dish with everything together, right? And sometimes it's separate. So it might be vegetables and rice, but they're not mixed together. Or it might be, so it's kind of two parts. You need to describe what the food is and what it's like, but also what are the ingredients in it is part of the description. So that's one thing that I wanted to comment on. Everybody has a pretty good job with number 3. That's pretty easy. The nutrition, I do mention here vitamins and minerals, but there's other things that are related to nutrition that you need to think about. Is it have fat in it? Does it have carbohydrates in it? Carbohydrates are like starches and sugars. So like breads and pastas and rice have carbohydrates. Is there a lot of sodium in it? So some of you, when you listed the minerals, you put in sodium, which is salt. And all those things are important to know for nutrition because these things are not good for your body if you eat too much. So by finding out what it has for fats, carbs. So if you ever heard someone say carbs, they're talking about carbohydrates. We say carb for short. If you've ever heard someone talk about carbo loading or low carb diets or things like that, they're talking about carbohydrates. So if you're on a low carb diet, that means you don't eat pasta or bread or cereals or a lot of noodles or things like that. I think rice noodles are a little bit better than like regular wheat noodles. Anyway, having this information about the nutrition will help you answer this question about, is it healthy? Because something could have good minerals and vitamins in it, but if it has a lot of fat and a lot of sodium and a lot of sugar, then it's probably not healthy to eat very often. Does that make sense? So that's part of, I know that that doesn't really show up in the food chart except for at the top where they have at the top of the triangle, they have that little tiny triangle with the oils and fats in it and the sugars, and it's because they don't want you to have very much of those. They're in the smallest piece. So that's why I want you to think about those things too, and not just vitamins and minerals. Oh, the other thing is protein. Does it have protein in it? That's healthy, and we need that for energy and for our muscles. So the other thing I'd want you to put in here is oh, it's not here. I'll put it in the middle. Proteins, if you have meats or beans or eggs, you're going to have protein in your food. So that's the other thing to see if it's healthy. So anything that's in the category in the food pyramid with meats, fish, eggs, beans, even some dairy stuff has protein. So like there's protein in milk. Those also help you determine if or decide if something's healthy or not. So most of you are muted, but if you have a question, I'm going to wait a second here. You can unmute yourself and ask me any other questions about the presentation.
I have some questions.
Okay, James.
I'm wondering about if I do presentation live, I don't know how can I show my PowerPoint or Google Slides. That's the first problem. The second one is if I do video recording, how can I don't know how can I show on the screen or on the presentation day. So I'm confused about those two things.
Okay. Right now, because I'm the person who started the class, I can share my screen here and show you this, right? So if I had a PowerPoint open on here, you could see it. And if I, can you see me over here? Can you see my face or just my paper? You're muted, James.
Just paper.
You can't see my face?
We can see your face
You
too.
said we can see both.
You can see both?
Oh, yeah, both.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
see
how we
your
do
face
it.
on the right side.
I can, because it's called the host, because I'm basically started this meeting. I can choose to let you share your screen. The other way I think I can do it is to, I think if I use gallery view, no, where is it here?
What's that?
Now you can see me and my paper, right?
Yes.
So I can do what they call spotlight of your video, which shows your face. And then I can also let you share your screen, which will show your PowerPoint. And that way you can be looking at your own computer while you're talking, or I don't know, if someone's doing this on a phone, you might have to do a recording. I'm not, at one point I remember who told me they were going to be using their phone, and right now I can't remember. But, so the other question is if you're doing a video, if you're doing a recording.
Video recording.
So if you're going to do a recording, you can either set up your phone like on a table or a stool or
like this?
Yeah, you can set it up to look at you and record you. And right now I'm looking at my laptop.
Yes.
But if I were doing my presentation, I could turn my chair around so my computer's behind me.
Oh.
And you could see the screen with the PowerPoint on it, and I'd be next to it talking. So if you think about in class where we have the big screen on the wall where your PowerPoint goes, you'd have to use your computer monitor or laptop to show the PowerPoint. You'd have to turn your chair around so you're facing the same way as your screen, and then someone else or your phone would have to be out in front of you to record it.
Then you can see both my face and my Google Slides, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Again, this is a little bit of an experiment. Those are both ideas. I have to say I haven't tried either idea yet.
That's kind of hard for me. I'm not that expert about computers, so.
You're not a technology expert? But I think if you could get someone at your house, if you have someone around who's willing to do the camera part and record you, then you could just focus on getting up your screen and you're talking at the same time. The tricky part is you might have to kind of stop talking and reach back to switch to the next slide, which is fine. I mean, I understand that it's different than if we're just giving a presentation in class. There's going to be some tricky parts. And that's one of the reasons that we were actually originally going to have 2 more presentations. We were supposed to have one last week in our original schedule and then one at the end of the semester. And I've switched it down to just this one because I know the technology is very complicated and it's hard. You know, I do it every day. It's hard to talk at a computer and not know if anybody's even listening or paying attention. Yeah. So I know when you're giving a presentation, it's not the same as when you're looking at your classmates and, you know, they'll smile at you and look at you and you know they're connecting with you and they know, you know, they're listening to you. So we're going to just do the best with what we can. And obviously for this situation, eye contact is just going to be looking at the camera and not looking down at your paper, or, you know, try and get your clearest voice, some of those things. A lot of you are probably going to have to sit down, obviously, and not be standing while you speak, which has been a big adjustment for me. I'm always standing up when I teach. It feels very weird to teach sitting down. I'm always walking around and going to help students, so it feels very weird to just be sitting here talking. I don't like this kind of teaching as much as when I'm with you, of course. I miss you all very much. So anyway, if that answers your questions.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I said, we're gonna try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll figure out something else. But I did get some suggestions on the computer that for sure will show your face and your screen at the same time. And then if I'm doing the Zoom recording, while we're presenting, everybody's presentations will end up on the Zoom recording of class. And I'm actually not going to, I'm not going to have a special time to evaluate yourself like we did on the other presentation. You got a chance to watch yourself. If you want to go back and watch yourself, you can see the class recording and watch it. You'll have to skip ahead till you find yourself. But you don't, I'm not going to do that step. Most of you already took my speaking class in the fall, so you've already done 4 or 5 presentations. Only a few of you are new this semester. Any other questions?
So if I do video recording, after I done it, I just post to you or transmit to you.
You can upload it on D2L. So I'm kind of assuming that the best camera people have is going to be in their phone. So see, I'm looking at myself, looking at myself, looking at myself. And you can log into D2L on your phone and go to the folder, because you can open the Century web page. The tricky part is if you pay for data, if you don't have regular Wi-Fi at your house, it might take a good amount of data to upload your video. That's the only tricky part I want to warn you about.
Oh.
So if like this cord on my phone, I have it plugged in right now because it was dying at the end of my first class. You can't see it. This cord at the other end is a USB plug. So I can plug this into my computer. I don't have to upload it on my phone and use my data. So you can connect this to your computer, open up D2L, and upload the video into the D2L folder. It's got to be in the folder. And I don't want anybody to hop online at 10:15 on Monday and try and upload their video, because it could take, depending on how busy D2L is, it could take 30 or 40 minutes to do the upload. Depends on the size of your file. The limit for D2L is 1 gigabyte. And I don't think anybody's will be 1 gigabyte. Most of them are about a third to a half a gigabyte at the most, depending on how long you talk. So there should be enough space in there to upload it. And again, this is an experiment. If you try to upload it and it won't take it, then we'll have to figure out something else. But you will not be able to send it to me. It'll definitely be way too big for an email. And I don't know any other way to send it to me unless you have it in your Google Drive and share it with me or something. I don't know. But right now I made this new folder. I put it up already this week because in case anyone wanted to upload one for today. So if you go into the assignment folders, there's still one here for the planning worksheet. And then this is the one if you make a video. And I'll show it to you the way it's going to look for you. This is all those extra symbols all over there are because I edit and add the folders. But if you go in, it's going to look like this. So the first folder is the planning worksheet and the second folder is for videos. And I mentioned that I put videos in capital letters so you know which one is which.
Okay.
Boris already asked me to wait till Monday. James, it sounds like you want to wait till Monday. And that leaves that and Abdi. Do either of you want to present today or do you want to just do it Monday?
I want to do on Monday because I'm not ready. What's it?
Okay, that'll
Yeah,
be
me
fine.
too.
That, you too?
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, I was just giving you the choice, the option. But I think it might be best if you have the weekend to work on it. And especially if you want to make a recording, you might have to set up a time. It'll, you know, the recording will only be 2 or 3 minutes long. They aren't very long presentations, but you might want to do it a couple times, right? Because the nice thing about a recording is if you mess up or mess up means make a mistake or get confused about something, you can stop and do it again and try a couple times. That's the nice thing about not doing it live. But it also means you're gonna have to have a time where there's not a lot of noise at your house, a lot of other people running around. So you might need to set up a time between, you know, on Saturday or Sunday, maybe if you can find a quiet time or after everybody's in bed or before everybody else gets up, if it's still quiet at your house. So we'll just do them all on Monday then, that sounds like. And again, it's your choice if you want to do a recording or do it live. Everybody can, if you do not have a recording in the folder by Monday at 10:30, I'm going to assume you want to do it for the class on your computer or phone. So,
So this will be the
sorry, Nero, can you say it again?
this will be the last presentation of
Yeah, this is the
semester.
only one we're doing because next week we'll have our presentation, and then there's only 2 weeks left after that. There's after today, there's 3 weeks left of the classes, and then we'll do our final exams on the 4th week after this. So this is our 3rd week of online classes. So after we finish today, if you only have Monday, Wednesday classes, you're done for this week. And then that means you have 3 more weeks. So we're halfway. If this is feeling hard for you, we're halfway. So be encouraged and hang in there and keep doing it. Some of you might feel like you're getting used to it and you're getting very comfortable doing it. I'm feeling more comfortable doing it, but I'm very, very tired. Because when I'm in the classroom, I just teach. And it's not as hard because I've been teaching for 20 years almost. But this, I have to teach and think about my Zoom recording and think about switching screens and think about, you know, showing the textbook on my phone and think about all the technology stuff. And so I'm very tired at the end of my, because all 4 days I teach from about 8:30 till almost 1. We get done before that. And my Tuesday, Thursday class gets done at 12:30. But I'm very tired at the end of the day. But that's okay. I'm just glad that we have a way to still give you the instruction because you guys don't want to miss half your class. So we will move on without the presentations today. I'll make sure and plan all the time on Monday for presentations. The thing I wanted to look at in the book today is on page 81. If you can find your book and open up to 81. So this was actually the homework, part of the homework over the weekend to talk about this reading, to do the reading and answer these questions. My phone is doing something weird with the cord. Yeah. Sorry, I just had to flip my phone over and it probably gave you spinning. There we go. I'm gonna move it over one more. Okay. So this is page 81. It was the main introductory thing that we first did about chapter 7. And you were supposed to do the reading. I already mentioned, and you have experience with this already, that the dark printed words, the bold print, are the vocabulary words that we've been learning for chapter 7. And I already mentioned that the practice for chapter 7 vocabulary we'll do next week. This is on page 81. I'm trying to find it in my book here. So the first question, news you can use, what does that mean? What does the book say that means? Did anybody read this? Maybe you'll have to scan for the answer. That's what we're learning in my reading class about scanning.
Yeah, we read this article.
Maybe you read it a week ago and you don't remember, but.
No, yesterday.
So what does news you can use mean?
What does the term news you can use mean? I don't understand the question.
So they use that in the book.
I saw the answer.
Okay, go ahead, Worth.
This means that while they're
They can use the information.
Accurate information.
well, there's two answers.
Okay.
About, the first one is like, yeah.
Yep.
No, before that.
Information
here?
can accurate.
Yeah. Up.
Oh yeah, here.
Yeah.
People are choosing news you can use. This means
That rather than looking for in-depth news stories about events in the world.
yeah, so they want news about their own situation. So one example of news you can use, which is a very simple example, and you may not even consider this news, but it's on the news report, is what's the weather going to be today in St. Paul, right?
Yeah,
You're not
I like
really
this.
worried about what the weather is in New York City or in Dallas, Texas, or in Los Angeles, California. You want the weather for you. And that's true of the news too. They want the news from their own area, what's going on with the things in their community and what they're interested in their own city.
Yeah, I like this example. The new when a dog bites a man, it's not news, but when man bites a dog, that's a news. I like this example.
Yeah, because it means it's something unique, something special to put on the news.
Yep.
And then at the other part, it also talks about
News you can use means accurate information that people can act on directly by taking a different route of work.
yeah, so it's news that's useful to you because it'll change what you're doing. So, for example, if you get news about a crash on the highway and they close the freeway, then you know you have to drive in a different road if you're going somewhere, for example. When they had the big snow on Sunday, they had a big crash and closed part of the freeway outside, not in the city, it was outside of the city, I think, but that's just an example. How about number 2?
What is the benefit of today's focus on news analysis?
Today, people depend on the news to get information, to get informed about how individual events happen.
Yeah, so because of the reason that they're giving us analysis of the news, they talk about how does the news affect you? Not just what's happening, but also how is it impacting or affecting our lives? And then what are reporters searching for now? They're looking at what's called trends. We talked about trend in unit 1 with our marketing, right? Who remembers what is a trend?
Trend is when it's something is changing.
Yeah, so they're looking at trends. The example they give is for childcare, right? Where is it?
Yes.
Oh, I can't find it.
Yeah, I do. Just in the middle.
Here, this part.
Yeah.
They're looking at new trends. For example, through online news, word of major disasters spread. And then they,
If you go up, they say new reporters are constantly searching for groups of events that signal new trends.
yep. So a new trend is a change. And people want to know what's changing in the world. Obviously, the trends that we're all watching now have to do with the virus, and people are keeping track of how fast they're finding more cases and what the trends are for dealing with it. Like, what are they doing for medical care? What are they doing for the government orders for staying at home or for being safe? Okay, so that one, again, I had mentioned before, if you didn't read this, even though we just talked about the answers, it's still important to go back and read it. We talked about the signal words. We did not go through page 84 yet, but I want to skip over that today and come back to it later. This is page 85. So our new note-taking strategy has to do with our lecture language. So in our lecture language, we talked about how do they signal important information. And they gave all these phrases for signaling. And another thing that they use is that they just repeat it. They repeat what they said to make sure you get it. That means it's something important. And so here, they're giving an example of what do you do in your notes when you hear this signal, and they're showing you that something in the lecture is important to know, meaning it needs to get in your notes, and you need to learn it. Sometimes you need to learn it because it's important. Sometimes you need to learn it because it's going to be on the test, right? So how do you mark these? We talked about using the abbreviation to use EX to show an example. We talked about the abbreviation DEF to show a definition. Now we're having signals for important information. So what they've done here is giving you part of a lecture, and then they take the notes to show you how they would take the notes. So I'm gonna just read this quickly for you. There's no recording of it. There have been a number of recent studies on internet use. So that's the topic, internet use. And I actually would just put internet use as the topic, but they wrote the whole phrase. The most recent study, meaning it's the newest findings, and she said that in her lecture that we looked at on Monday, when we watched the woman speaking about internet. She said these are the most recent findings, the most recent results, which means they're the most accurate. So what that means is the latest information is the most correct as to what's going on right now. The most recent study from the University of Southern California has the most accurate findings on the internet use. One important point, so that's something that is a signal, right? That's a signal.
Mm-hmm.
One important point they found is that people go online an average of 12.5 hours per week. Oh, is this the same? This is part of what we heard already. Another important finding, so that's another thing that they're signaling, was that getting the news was the third most popular activity. So those are these 2 points right here in the notes, and you'll notice they put a star next to them. And they're using the star as a symbol to show this is important information. Another thing that I've seen people do is you can do an exclamation point like that. That also can signal important, because if you make a statement in a text or see a statement in a reading that has an exclamation point, it means they're emphasizing that. It's a stress, it's a symbol that they're stressing it. So if you walk in and your kids have pulled everything out of your kitchen cupboards and you say, "What are you doing?" You put an exclamation point on that, right? Because it's a stressed question and it's an important question. So you can use a star like this little one, but I like the exclamation point because a star, it looks too much like a bullet point. You might have seen those stars and just thought they were bullets, but they actually, you can do a star like this, so it's bigger too, which I just do my stars like an X with a line through it, or you can do an actual star like that. If you make those bigger too, it's a little more clear. So that's what they're using to mark the important information. And then the next part, they're saying, "I'd like to point out." That's also a signal. A more recent finding that there is a large increase in the number of people going to the internet for big event news. And so here they used to underline to show that that's one of the increasing activity on the internet is finding news about big events. So that means a big event is something like a war, the death, an earthquake, for example, would be a big event, something that infects a lot of people. So the point I want to stress, and that's down here, the choice that they made for this one is this arrow. So they've got 3 signals here, this symbol, and underlining. All those things are a signal you can use that that was an important piece of information that the speaker was stressing. The most internet is now so internet is the preferred source for big current news stories. The reason it's current, obviously, is because internet can be updated immediately. If you're using your newspaper for news, and news comes up or changes, you have to wait till tomorrow to get the next newspaper, right? But the internet, it will come up right away. If you've ever looked at a news website, I'm going to see if I can find an example here. It will have an article there, and then it will put on the article when it was last updated. So I'm looking to see if I can see an example to show you online here. So they're always changing and updating the information as they get it, even once it's online. Nope, this isn't even a news story anymore. That went to a different page. I clicked on it and it was already. Okay, let's see here. I'm trying to find an example of this, and if I can't find one quickly. Okay, so here's an example about a student. I'll put it on the screen. This is a student who is doing what they call study abroad in Europe. So she was doing her spring semester in Europe, and because of COVID, she had to go home. So it says she had to flee her program, which is a strong word, you know, because flee means running away. But they're trying to kind of be dramatic. And you'll notice down here, this story was published on April 14th, which was Monday. No, which was yesterday night at 9. And then it says at 3 a.m. today it was updated. So that's what I'm talking about. They either found out more facts and information, or something changed about the story, or they found out something they didn't know. And so they update it. So that's why it's the most current news. Current means up to date. So because the internet can change in just a few seconds, you don't have to wait to print a new newspaper or a new magazine. So that's why it's called the most current news for a big event, because the news is changing every day. So are there any questions on that part?
No.
So this weekend you're going to be doing
Presentation.
presentation focus. And I am going to put up the chapter 7 vocabulary worksheet if you have a chance to work on that, but we won't go over it until next Wednesday. So if you don't get to it till after your presentation, that'll be okay, but put that in the folder when you have it done. When next week when we do the chapter 7 lecture, we're going to use this skill when you take your notes. So you should be listening for the signals and putting some kind of a signal in your notes that shows what are the important points. And then I want to look at page 90. This is our skill for presentations for this chapter. We are not using charts or graphs in our presentations, but we are going to be using the PowerPoints. And so this is kind of a way to look at how you use a visual aid or a PowerPoint or a graph when you're doing your presentation. So we're going to just talk about this this morning before we wrap up. This is going to be a student presentation. As you know, they often give us a presentation that's not a good example, but I'm going to skip that one. Well, maybe I will show you that one. I think I will show you both of them because that gives you a good comparison. I'm going to open this one and see if we can get it to play. My internet hasn't been super great the last couple days. But the first two questions are showing what was the research that the student was going to put in her graphs. So she's presenting on a survey. You might know that when they're getting data or information about how people get their news, which is one of the topics in this chapter, they have to ask them, right? They have to ask people, how do you get your news? Do you go online? Do you read a newspaper? Do you watch a TV news? And so there's survey questions that she did for her research to share with the class. And so what they want you to look at for the first part of the presentation is what survey questions did she ask them and what are the findings? What's a finding? Almost everybody's muted, so I don't know if anybody's answering me. Findings means the results. So when she asked the people the questions, what were her results? And she highlights or talks about two important results that she found in her survey. So I'm gonna show you the video. Hopefully we can get it to play without issues. And you should be able to hear it just fine if you can hear me. So her survey is about digital media, and digital media obviously means electronic. So it's connected to our topic of online news. So let's watch this part together.
I surveyed two types of people, younger people and older.
Can you put up volume a little bit
Louder?
louder, please?
Sure. Hang on a second. I have to, I'm gonna pause my share so I can get into my volume. You can also turn up your own device, probably. You can make your computer or phone louder too. But I will turn mine up too, because it's coming through my speakers.
I surveyed two types of people, younger people and older people, to find out what kind of digital media they use to get the news. I asked the question, what types of digital media types that people use are internet newspapers, blogs, internet news sites, and podcasts. Let me point out two important findings. Almost everybody in each age group uses internet newspapers. However, only young people use blogs and Twitter to get to the news.
So you'll notice that she has all this information on the chart behind her on the screen, but she's not looking at any of it or showing us any of it. And that's what they're saying the problem is. We're gonna watch it one more time quick. It's just a minute. It's only 45 seconds actually. But notice this chart is on the screen.
After a travel ban from Europe last month.
Oh, hang on.
Americans scrambled for flights home. Tonight, Care 11's Lauren Lemanchek investigates the case of a local college student forced to pay.
Another news coming.
It's coming off of this page that I opened before.
And I'm really grateful for my experience.
I did not push play, but all of a sudden it just started playing the news broadcast that I had. So we're gonna watch this again. Where'd she go? Where is she? There it is. You'll notice this chart that's showing behind her on the screen. So I want you to watch what she does with her visual aid while she's speaking. Or I should say what she doesn't do.
I surveyed two types of people, younger people and older people, to find out what kind of digital media they use to get the news. I asked the question, what types of digital media do you use to get the news? The digital media types that people use are internet newspapers, blogs, internet news sites, and podcasts. Let me point out two important findings. Almost everybody in each age group uses internet newspapers. However, only young people use blogs and Twitter to get to the news.
So you'll notice in that example that she was only talking about the data and she wasn't showing it on the graph. And that's not as effective. It's hard to follow what she's talking about if she doesn't show us the graph. And you'll notice that the question was on her slide. So the survey question she asked is what kind of media you use and what were her findings. Somebody catch that? Everybody's muted right now. So if you want to talk, you can unmute. What findings did she tell us?
Younger people, they are using Twitter and online browsers, and the kind of older people, they are using news media and newspaper.
That's close, but one part that you said isn't correct. Does anybody know what's different about what Nino said? That you unmuted. Are you going to talk?
No, I talk about the Nino, the same. So
Okay. So the one finding was true that only the young people use the blogs and Twitter. The internet newspapers, she actually said both groups use that.
Yes. Both group. She said both group use that.
Yep. So now we're going to watch her new and improved presentation.
Okay.
And I want you to specifically or especially pay attention to what she does with her graph. So while she's speaking and telling about her results, what does she show us on the graph to make her results more clear?
Okay.
I surveyed people, the younger people.
See, you notice her graph isn't there yet.
Uh-huh.
So for her introduction, she's leaving it blank so we focus on her and not start reading the graph.
I surveyed the two groups of people, the younger people and the older people, to find out what kind of digital media they usually use to get the news. I asked the question, what types of digital media do you use to get the news? Now I'm going to show you a chart that shows the findings from the survey. The blue bar is the younger people and the red bar is the older people. Across the bottom, you can see the digital media types that people use. Internet newspapers, blogs, Twitter, internet news sites, and podcasts. Along the left side, you can see the numbers of the people that use each media type. Let me point to two important findings. As you can see on the left, above internet newspapers, almost everybody in both age groups use this type for the media. However, just to the right, if you look at the blogs and Twitter, you can see that only the young people use these news sources.
So the question is, of course, that it's more clear. The first time she didn't even mention the red and blue colors, right? So you had to kind of read the graph yourself and figure that all out on your own. But the second time, because she explained it to us, it's much clearer to understand. Anyone have any questions on this part? So
I don't.
you noticed?
What is the answer of question number 1?
The survey question was on her slide. I can show you that quick again.
To get the news. I asked the question, what types of digital media do you use to get the news?
So it's here on the screen. What digital media do you use to get news? And actually, the way she set it up, they could say yes to all 4 of these. They didn't have to choose one. So some of these people using internet newspapers might be the same people that also use blogs and Twitter. You'll also notice this was only 2 people. It's a little bit hard to see these numbers, but this is 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So she only talked to like 10 or 12 people in each age bracket. She also doesn't tell us the ages, but it says here 18 to 29, and this one says, I think it says age 50 and older. She just called them younger people and older people, but she actually has the years on her graph for the ages. So that's the answer, Niru. That's the question that she asked them.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Yep. So as you're using your PowerPoint, it'll be a little bit different with this presentation, as I've talked about already. But I still want you to understand the correct way to do it. You notice that she looked to the screen quickly and said, here, you'll see my results. And then she looked back. So I made comments on a lot of your presentations in the past when you use PowerPoint, that you end up, when you use something on the screen, you end up looking at it too much. So it ruins your eye contact. So with this situation, the way she did it is she just looked at the screen for a second, but then she turned back. So when she wanted to show them something on the screen, she looked at it, but then she turned back to the audience to keep talking. So that's our presentation skill for chapter 7. That's all I have for today. We've been doing this over an hour, so I think people are ready for a break. I think I've explained everything about the presentations. If you're still confused, you can go back and watch this in the D12 announcements. If you have any questions right now, you can stay online here and I'll answer them. If you feel like you know what you're doing for your presentation and you're good, you can step out of the meeting, leave the meeting button. Just make sure you have your food and your planning sheet. And I would prefer that you don't start building your PowerPoint slides until you get my feedback on your planning sheet, so you know you're doing it correctly before you go to all the trouble of building your slides. If you have any questions about building your slides, that was on Monday's class, and it's the last 20 minutes of the recording. You can skip ahead for like 20 or 25 minutes to watch what I showed about making PowerPoints. Any other questions? I know it's a little nerve-wracking. It'd be much easier if we could just go to the classroom and have you present and put your PowerPoint on the screen. It's a lot more complicated this way, but just do the best you can. And I'm doing the best I can with technology too. I know there's stuff that doesn't work right for me.
Yep.
But we'll all be patient and we'll figure it out together.
All right.
So if you don't have any questions, I will see you Monday. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy. Take care of yourself and your families. And if you're feeling lonely because you're staying home too much, reach out to somebody. I was going to show you the picture. I can put this up quick. I was going to show it on Monday and I ended up not showing it, but I can show you. Where is it here? I can show you quick what we did for Easter dinner at my house. I have to find the file. So just for fun, I'll show you. This is what we did at my house for Easter dinner. Oh, come on, it's still opening. My computer's so slow. So this is my husband's laptop. And this is the camera pointing at my table. This is me with the camera taking the picture. I shouldn't have held it in front of my face. I wasn't thinking. This is my granddaughters and my daughter-in-law. This is my son and daughter who live in California. This one lives in New Brighton, but he didn't want to come over. And this is my husband's parents. And that's how we ate our Easter dinner, on the camera, talking to everybody, pretending we were all together for our Easter dinner. So if you're feeling lonely, reach out to somebody, get on a Skype chat or a Google Hangouts or phone call or something. Because it's hard when, you know, two of my sons live alone. I have two sisters who live alone. If you're not leaving your house and you live alone, it's really hard. So take care of yourselves. And I'll stay on for a few minutes if anybody has questions. If you don't have questions, you can leave the class and I'll see you on Monday.
Okay, see you Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.